What's up, witches? I'm Taylor.
And I'm Amber.
And this is
Waking Up the Witch. We're your neighborhood witches. Each week, we talk about all things witchy and connect with other humans in a storytelling format about navigating life on this floating rock.
We're two curious ladies trying to understand the human experience. But while we do that, we think it's important to honor the people that lived here before us and honor the cultures and traditions that we're being inspired by.
This podcast is about waking up the witch, which means we are learning and growing every day. That being said, we are always open to feedback on how we can do better.
The views and opinions of our guests don't necessarily reflect the views and opinions of Waking Up the Witch. Now, let's go, ghouls. Hey, Amber.
Hi, Taylor.
How you doing?
So fucking good. How are you?
Great.
Hell yeah.
What's going on?
What
you been doing?
Big week. Client every single day that I was open.
Hold on, I just got eyebrow skin on my microphone.
Ew.
Well, I rubbed my eyebrow on it because it's itching. Okay.
It's such like an animal instinct thing to do.
Like, side note, but
bare necessities.
Vanderpump Rules, there's like a scene where one of them's getting married and one guy's holding this fluffy dog and he's crying and he just wipes his tears on the dog, and Kurt was like walked by and was like, did he just wipe his tears on that dog? And then Joey sent me the clip like a couple days later and I was like, yeah, Curtis was just like, what the fuck?
That's so funny.
Okay. Anyway, sorry.
You can keep all that in. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
I think
it's funny. Yeah, it's been just like, I feel like the past 3 weeks have been so busy for me in like a wonderful way. I feel so blessed and mind blown. Everything feels so surreal of like, okay, I'm like doing it. I'm picking up momentum now. Things are happening. And that's fucking cool.
And it's like summertime. It's like the time to do shit, you know? It helps you not feel as run down.
Yeah. I'm surprised, like, I feel tired like at the end of the day, like you naturally would. Yeah. But even last night, I only slept like 6 hours. I fell asleep around 11, woke up at 11:30 because for some reason my upstairs robo vacuum started going and I could hear it like through the floor, and I was like, what's happening? Ghosty? I don't know. And that like woke me up and annoyed me, and it has like an app. I was trying to like turn it off and it wouldn't turn off, which was so weird. So something was going on upstairs. But even with that, I'm like, oh, I've only been asleep for like a half an hour, and it felt like I had been sleeping for so long. And then I woke up at 6 o'clock this morning and I'm like, no, I want to sleep till like at least 8. Why am I awake? But I'm like, but I feel alive. I don't know. I feel fine. I don't need to sleep more. It's so strange, especially with just like energy work. How I know it, like it knocks you out when you do it and when you receive it. And I've been giving so much, and I think I'm just like building a muscle now that it's like I have this endurance.
That's what I was gonna say. I think maybe when you first start doing it, it might do that, but after a while, I think it maybe does the opposite.
Yeah,
it starts to energize you.
Yeah, I'm really feeling that.
Everybody from our class was like, I just feel so drained, and I'm like, yeehaw, cowboy.
Yeah,
let's go.
So with that, I hosted my very, very, very first Reiki level 1 attunement class on Saturday, 2 days ago, and you were here and one of the students, and just, oh my God, like one of the most surreal, beautiful experiences of my life.
So good.
But absolutely one of the tops of my business, besides opening a storefront, like just as huge as that was for me.
You've done so much this year.
It's been 3 months since I opened my door, like exactly 3 months. So much has happened since opening my doors. And I feel like it would have taken me forever to get to this point where I'm just constantly seeing people.
Once you you start and you invite it, whatever you're ready for will come to you.
It's so true. And like, I really feel like I'm not trying, which feels so good. And that's really how this whole last year has been, like, since just starting to open up channels and clearing my energy and preparing myself for whatever the future holds. And like body code, I really feel has been a big part of that, doing that every month. And, once I started doing that, then my shop, it opened up in my eyeballs and I could see it and it was here and I was able to rent it. And so October to now, it's just been and I know I've tried. I know that I literally have done so much to like make it happen, but it feels so effortless.
I mean, I think when you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, that's how it is. People have always told me like, oh, you're so inspiring. You just work so hard to do all this. And I'm like, not really.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just naturally good at
just me.
This job, and I learn things easily, and it's like my calling, and I don't have to kill myself to like force it. Which I don't think you should force things in life. I'm really living in the flow now. Like,
when you're in alignment, it just happens.
Wherever we're supposed to live next, wherever whatever journey is coming, like, I'm not forcing anything anymore.
Fuck yeah.
Because when you force things, you sometimes end up in situations that you don't want.
Exactly.
Even with like moving my business to Grants Pass, like I was so sure I wanted it to be Grants Pass, and now I'm feeling like I don't necessarily want to be there. But I'm like, okay, I'm open to whatever the next option is. Like, yeah, I want to be back in Medford, but if that's what's right for me, like, okay, if it's within this timeline, okay, like, you show me, universe.
Yes. I love that energy. I want to stay in that energy because it feels so good. It feels so right. The people who walk through my door every day, just mind blowing. The connections I get to make every single day. Like, everyone in my class on Saturday have been people like you. I met by being called to you. Like, it was very flowy energy and how we became friends. And having Alicia and Jubilee here, like, they both found me naturally in my business. And then Fabio, it was a whole like what amazing serendipity magic moment for him too. Like, I know him because my husband like went to his house and tried to sell him solar. And he was like, wait, what? Your wife does what? That's what I've been called to. How fucking cool.
I also want to add, like, doing hard things is different than forcing yourself to do something. Like, you still should do hard things and put yourself in uncomfortable positions to grow. I don't mean things. Just like stay stagnant. I mean, like, don't force things that in
like
your
if
gut.
It's not working and you keep trying to do things, then maybe go into the flow.
Jobs,
and
relationships, stuff like that. But for sure, do hard things.
Yeah, like doing the class, it was something I knew I wanted to do, but it was very scary to put myself out there and put that on the calendar and create materials and put it together. And it was like, one step at a time. This is going to happen. One step at a time. Having faith that like whoever's meant to be there that day will be there. Literally, I had 2 people, you and Alicia, the whole time that I started promoting it. And literally the day before, the other 2 joined in. And it's so funny too, because I printed the journal and I made 4 copies of it because I was like, okay, 2 for my yeses, 1 for me to do it with them, and 1 as a open invitation to the other person who I can feel is supposed to be here. And then all 4 of those journals I ended up needing to use for my students, which was like, there's no coincidence in me doing that. I was called to do that for a reason. And it was so powerful, and was having all these moments of just like inner child happiness and joy of like how far I've come, all the hard work I've done, where I've been, where I am now, and just being like, holy fucking shit, this is my life. I'm so lucky and so grateful and very excited for however this day is supposed to unfold. Like, so many different little things where I'm like,
Mhm.
I used to make smoothies
Mhm.
and now I'm a Reiki master teacher with a cool ass witchy boutique. Fucking rad.
Watching you do it, it definitely felt like you're meant to do it. Like you're
Aw,
just so good at it, an amazing teacher, and
thank
no
you.
judgment ever, ever, ever.
No.
Just like so open to letting everyone be and do whoever they are and
Yeah.
learn and practice the Reiki however it comes to them.
Yeah, because it is really very unique to every person. I
Mhm.
believe that, like in my own experiences, meeting other Reiki practitioners, we all have different ways of doing it because we all have our own unique gifts on top of this knowledge
Mhm.
of this type of energy work. And so you get to make it yours also.
Mhm.
And the fact is, you're showing up to help people feel safe and to move energy ultimately. And I just want people to feel safe and confident in themselves. And it takes just little things to start to build that confidence and trusting yourself and just seeing how different all four of you were and how you were providing and working with that energy. It was all very different, but you all had very unique experiences that were touching to receive and also touching to give. I could see that in all of you. So I'm so fucking happy that you got to be in the first class
Me too.
also, and that I get to like teach you something that's very special and near and dear to my heart. Very
I
grateful.
do feel real different.
Mm.
Just like I always have synchronicities and stuff, but it's just been like like just so much.
Yeah, it really opens you up. Like it, I feel like it just kind of like takes you you're like taking an elevator. You're just like,
Mhm.
I'm just gonna push a button. We'll see where it takes me. And you're like, whoa, the world is not the same anymore.
Mhm.
And that'll continue to integrate over the next several weeks, I'm
Love
sure. Yeah. How was it for you? Like anything fun that you want to share on the
Yeah.
pod that came through?
Mind blowing. Well, I'm like a little bit of a bad student because I fell asleep twice during meditation.
Okay, but that's not a bad student. Meditation is to help you relax your nervous system and your body and your
relaxed.
mind, and it worked. That's not being a bad student. You got exactly what you needed.
Everyone at the end of the day was like, I'm exhausted. I'm like, I feel great. I napped twice. Feeling good. But during the second meditation, you took us through. I have to pull out my notes because this is probably the craziest thing that's ever happened to me ever. During the second meditation, you like walk us through a guided meditation where we like I don't know, walk through a field and meet our Reiki guide, and that can look like anything. It could be an animal. It could be, I thought mine would be a wiener dog or something. So the way that the meditation went, you were like, okay, there's going to be like this bright light that comes up over the hill, I believe. And then it's like who or what comes out of this light. And the first thing I saw was this old ass Japanese man with like very long white beard, very long white hair, so old, white like clothing and a gold cane. And then you're like, okay, ask them their name. And I did. And he said Shoshu. And I'm like, okay. And then you ask more questions, and that's when I fell asleep. But when we came out of it, I'm like, all I wrote down was in my, because we were supposed to journal. So I wrote down very, very old Asian man in white clothes because I didn't want to be racist from my own thoughts. So I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know what his ethnicity is, but he was Asian. But I should trust my gut. He's definitely Japanese. In white clothes, gold cane, long white hair, long beard. Shoshu. I also was like, I'm going to Google this because, like, is my brain just being racist and making up another word that sounds Japanese? So I Google Shoshu, and it's a brand. It pops up on Google that it is a Buddhist school. So it's a branch of Nichiren Buddhism based on the traditional teachings of 13th century Japanese Buddhist priest Nichiren Shoshu.
So cool.
And I'm like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, you were having a moment.
I'm just like,
You're like,
mind blown.
Mind blown. Yeah.
Absolutely mind blown. My Reiki guide that comes to me and spoke to me is actually this old ass real life Buddhist fucking priest. Are you fucking kidding me? But a little bit of more of the Google just said his teachings are based on cause and effect. Believers attain enlightenment through sincere efforts of faith, practice, and study. Faith in Nichiren Shoshu means practicing true Buddhism with confidence that will lead us to enlightenment.
So cool.
So now I'm like, do I have to go to one of these temples? I don't know. Should I like be delving deeper into this topic? Obviously, I should. I don't really know where to start.
If
but
you
like,
feel guided to, I think there is more magic there for you. I would guess, like, if that happened to me, that I would feel called to
a huge nudge.
Yeah. Like, what's in this for me then? Wow. How did my subconscious bring that to light?
I've never fucking heard of that in my life. It's not like I subconsciously heard that somewhere and then my brain like brings it back. It's like that didn't just come somewhere deep, like from deep in me. That was like me connected to something somewhere. So I don't know. There's a couple temples. There's like 5 to 8. I don't remember in America. 2 of them are in San Francisco. We could go. I'm just like, what am I supposed to wear? I don't want to be disrespectful.
Yeah.
I also
sure
have like
Google
a
could
huge
tell you that too.
Fear of like any kind of organized religion stuff. So it's like beliefs. Kind of a little to me.
Well, that's something like for me as a witch that I love is like what inspires me, what speaks to me, because there's so many different belief systems and values out there in religions, and like there are a lot of really good ideas that absolutely speak to me, and I'm like, oh, that feels right in my body. And so like when people ask like, well, what kind of witch are you? I say I'm an eclectic witch because literally I'm like, okay, yeah, this feels good in my body. This feels good in my soul. And it's like, I don't want to think about it as like taking necessarily.
I mean, we open up every episode by thanking the other cultures and traditions that we are
being inspired by.
Exactly.
And like, that's really what it is. So it's not like, well, now you need to go become a Buddhist, necessarily, but, maybe
what can I learn from that?
Exactly. Like just finding those lessons and what does resonate with you, what feels good in your soul, what is your truth.
I still cannot. I can't describe how fucking mind blown I am still.
Yeah.
Like,
so
insane.
Beautiful. I love that. It's really cool too, because like once you had that moment, and like I loved that you went straight to Google, because during my first attunement, I had a very similar experience, not as like as in depth, but I went to Google because the name I received was so like random to me, and I had to dig out my journal because the name has never really stuck with me, but the meaning of it has always been something that I remember. And my teacher took me through the same exact guided meditation. It's the same exact one that she used. And for me, what came through was a big, beautiful crow. And crow has always been like a very magical messenger for me. And he came through, and when I asked what his name was, he told me his name was Theo.
Oh.
And I'm like, I don't know any Theos. Like, what a random name. But okay, trust it. You're right. Don't judge it. Just trust what's coming through. And so that was like the one thing I really remembered and held on to. It was like, Theo. I just want to remember the name I need to remember. And when I got out and we were on a break, I had Googled like the name Theo and to see if it resembled anything or had any meaning to it. And Theo directly translates to God.
Yeah, like the accuracy. Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah.
And like for me, like God has always been a very touching name too, where I'm like, religious trauma and upbringing, I don't know how I feel about God. But I think that kind of brought some peace to me and helped me kind of bridge the like, God is me, God is the universe, God is source energy. Like God means something to me now, and it's not like the big man in the sky.
Right.
But they're like, I feel safer using the term or the name God now.
Yeah.
And I think through Reiki, it helped me kind of like create new meaning for that.
I've always wanted, like, I've done different guided meditations to try to meet other ancestors or guides or whatever, and I can never really get there. And then I'm like comparing always, and I'm like, oh, have you done this? Do you do that? And then I'm like, why can't I? And then so that was just like so validating and intense and crazy.
So neat that you were able to get there that day.
It was tight.
Yeah. So fun. And how was like practicing and conducting sessions for you?
I definitely feel I need more practice, but like I understand it more now, and I feel great.
Yay.
Yeah.
It was so fun.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I'd let you practice on me.
Yeah.
I wouldn't open myself up to everybody, but
thanks.
I would definitely allow you to practice on me.
Thank you.
So what else besides Reiki has been going on with you?
Bump date. Got a full refund.
Bump date. I love it.
We have a bump date.
Breaking news.
Baby is the size of a mango, and my belly is getting bigger every day. Like this week is really just popped out. I look pregnant.
Yeah.
Even more today than yesterday. We received a full refund.
Hell yes.
Minus like credit card processing fees, but received a full refund from the birth center. I sent in paperwork to Ashland Birth Center, so I'm waiting to hear back from them. I would really like to get that kind of started. I'm about at the time where I would do my 20-week anatomy scan.
Yeah.
I'm 19 weeks now. I'm just trusting that she's in there. Because like when you feel sick every day, it's easy to be like, yeah, I'm fucking pregnant. I feel like shit. But now that I feel better, I'm like, are you still in there? Even though I'm growing, it's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I felt her move that one day, but I don't like really consistently feel that yet. And if I do, I can't really tell because I feel like I'm gonna shit myself all the time anyways. So I don't know if that's it or what. So today is Mickey's gotcha day.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's so weird. I was thinking about that today. Not knowing that. I was like, I know it's coming up very soon.
Yeah, it's today.
Aw, happy gotcha, Mickey.
So I'll go buy a puppy baked good after this. And then today should be my bestie Kate. It should be Cash, her baby's birthday today.
Baby day.
So she's being induced, but they're gonna call her between like 6 and midnight. So he might come tomorrow. She really hates odd numbers though, so she really wants it to be today. I kind of feel like it's gonna be tomorrow.
Yeah,
but I'm so excited.
Has she gone in? Or today's her induction day?
Yeah, they're gonna call her between 6 and midnight to come in, and then they'll do. She's already.
But she's been contracting, right?
No, but she's already dilated and effaced. So it should. They said just a tiny bit of Pitocin, hopefully.
Yeah.
Just so excited.
That's so exciting.
I've been texting her like, how you feeling? Are you nervous? Are you anxious? Whatever. She's like, no, I'm just excited. And then today she's like, I'm nervous.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, that's
the
more
day's
normal.
here. Yeah. You're like, this is actually happening now.
But she's got all her support systems in place and she got everything ready, and yeah, we're just ready for this baby.
That's so exciting.
So exciting.
And she was the one when you went home that you ended up finding out afterwards that she was pregnant after you left, right? Back in October. That's so exciting.
Like a couple days later.
So wild. Yay.
Yeah, time flies. You just get pregnant and then you just have a baby.
Yeah.
You're like, well, that was quick. Like the fact that I'm halfway is mind blowing.
Yeah, it's so
There's
crazy.
gonna be a fucking baby here. I'm not ready.
Yeah.
At all. I'm like, I don't know shit. I think it's just maternal. I think it just happens, and I don't know. Everybody's like, oh, read this book, do this thing, and I'm like, I bought all the books. I haven't touched any of them. It's not who I am. I don't know. I can't read books for education. I just can't do it. I can listen to them sometimes, but like I get bored, and then my eyes start going cross-eyed, and then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna just scroll TikTok.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never. My ADHD kids can't. It even takes me a minute to like get into a book I enjoy, let alone like try to read something for information. So
yeah,
I'm just freeballing it. I don't know.
Whatever's
supposed to happen will happen. I'm not worried about it.
No,
I think you just figure it out. I talked to one of my friends the other day. She's like, I had never even changed a diaper until I had my baby. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I've done that.
Yeah.
So
you're doing great.
Yep.
You got some basic skills.
Nervous about milking, but whatever.
Let's see. You'll find out.
Yep.
And it'll be like weird, or maybe like, I don't know if this is for me or whatever is supposed to happen.
Yes.
You'll figure it out, and you'll have support around you to help you, and lots of friends who've been there to help you with any advice and stuff too that you could request.
Yeah,
and
I literally have so much support. It's crazy. Yeah. So,
and then if you're planning on a doula too, then
I meet with her this week.
Yay, that's exciting.
She's getting her hair done, so we're gonna talk then.
Perfect. It's all gonna work out.
Yep. So excited. I'm ready for some summertime music. I'm ready for some camping. I'm ready for some water and floating and all the things. So
me too.
Bring it on. I'm just starting to actually feel pretty pregnant.
Yeah. You're popping.
Yeah. But it's all good. Anything else with you?
Nothing is coming to mind that I can think of other than I'm going out of town soon, but we'll get there probably next week when it's about to happen.
All of our interviews since we got back from break have been so fucking good.
So good.
And I just feel like we're on a roll. We just keep getting people and
getting back in the flow. Feels so good.
I'm like happy that we have so many like backed up, because then we don't have to worry, but also I like wish it was a little more current, so we'll see what happens in the future. Maybe this season just be like that, and then
we'll have a couple weeks off coming up, so we'll kind of get a little bit more on track with where we are.
Yeah, but I feel like we'll probably try to stay in season 2 until I go on maternity leave, and then take a break.
Yeah.
And I'll come back and be a mom. I'm still not comfortable with the word mom.
You want to have a different name?
No, I don't know. I just don't like it. You were like, oh, you look like such a mom today. I'm like, you're a bitch.
Yeah,
don't say that to me.
Like a cool, cute, hip, sexy ass mom.
Literally mom. Like that. I'm growing a human. I don't know. I'll get there. Maybe.
Like mom vibes, but like...
Thanks.
Love it.
I showed up here. I was like, oh, look at these cute earrings I got. And they're little like planchettes. planchette, which is like the little hand device part of a Ouija board. And then she's just like, shut up. And then just showed me her earrings, and they were also Ouija boards, like planchettes. And I'm like, all right, whatever. Let's do this.
We're so in tune today. Because also she texted me like finding out when we were going to show up or whatever. And she's like, cool, I'm going to go to Ruby's because that's all I really want. I literally just got done putting a burrito in my mouth from Ruby's.
Like, did you get the veggie?
That's usually what I get, but today I just got the kids burrito, which was just super basic. I didn't really want like any extra fluff. I just wanted like straight up breakfast burrito.
Yeah. I needed vegetables. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
We're always in tune.
Yeah. So great.
Yeah.
So today's guest, the conversation was so good. Amazing storyteller.
Mm-hmm.
Wild ride of a life.
Mm-hmm.
Vulnerable to the max. And just so healing and beautiful. She is a palm reader and a graphic design artist working with heart-centered soul businesses, which is really cool. We touch a little bit on that there at the end, but oh my God, what a powerful conversation and story. One of my favorites today.
Loved it.
100%.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I can't wait to keep doing this forever.
I know. It's like,
so good.
Literally, like we hung up the call and I was just like, this is exactly why we keep doing this each week, is these stories are so important and need to be told, and people need the space to feel safe to share that, and people listening need to be able to feel less alone in their own experiences. It's so beautiful. And then Taylor was like, so fucking grateful for Celeste, who was like our first guest here, because she really her storytelling
to have a storytelling podcast, but she just jumped right into her story when we were like, oh, tell us a little bit about yourself.
And we loved it.
It was
so much that we're like, oh, this is what we want it to sound like. So she really set the tone in creating something that like feels so good in our souls. And hopefully for anyone who stumbles upon this at any point today and in the future, because just wow. I'm so blessed to be able to have these conversations.
Me too. And I'm excited to tell our stories again sometime.
I was thinking that while she was talking, like maybe that's coming up soon for us.
I feel more comfortable behind the mic and able to share.
Yeah, because our very first episode was us kind of sharing our stories, but we're so nervous and trying to like be as professional as possible. It's so funny too, because Celeste was kind of what put in our hearts, so that's what we want to do, but ultimately that's how we started with storytelling. So it's funny to reflect on that and be like, oh, that's not what we meant to do, but that's what we need to do.
So we did.
So we did it.
Yeah.
So cool.
I do think that sometimes you're like, you don't notice how much you've changed or grown, but like how guarded and nervous I was at the beginning compared to how I feel now, like is major growth.
Transformation.
Yeah.
We've transformed so much. That's been like 9-10 months.
Damn.
Since we've started that.
Damn.
That's crazy.
Cool. Podcasters. What are we going to think years from now? Even if this is never anything, I love that just for us personally, we get to like record little pieces of our lives that we can remember. Like this is our little journal.
Yeah, same.
And my manifesting tool. But
and that's like, we always come back to that. Like this is for us. And that was, I remember like feeling that way and being like, no matter where we go, if this is nothing, I don't want us to be disappointed in that. If this becomes something bigger than we can envision, I don't want it to take over where we're like, we change in a way that's gross. Like I want us to remain authentic and remember at the end of the day, we're doing this for ourselves.
And like, oh, there it goes. Sorry, I don't know what I was gonna say.
Oh, I was like, did you fart?
No. Pregnancy brain. I'm just like, taking a break, and like the last 4 episodes that we recorded, nobody's even heard yet, but
I
I'm feeling
know.
like the best ever. And
Yeah.
that just shows that it's not like how many listens we've had or how much
yeah.
like validation from others. Like none of that's really mattering to
Yeah.
us because like nobody's even fucking heard them right now. You know, I haven't checked our numbers in months. I don't know what's
No.
going on there.
No.
Maybe we should, but yeah, this is for us and for
Mhm.
you out there.
Yeah.
Whoever this reaches, this is for you.
I love that.
Yeehaw, cowboy. Enjoy your summer.
Let's begin by closing our eyes. If you're able to, just finding a comfortable seating position and taking a moment to feel your body. Taking 3 deep breaths in together to connect our energy. Breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in again. And out. And one last big breath in. Hold at the top. And release. Just focusing on your normal breath now. Noticing any changes or shifts in your body. Helping yourself to relax a little bit. A little more deeply. And I'd love to call in our higher selves to be here with us today. And any ancestors or guides that wish to play. Please help us in guiding this conversation, creating an open, safe space for our guest, and helping whatever is meant to come through today to be of the highest good and the highest light for all involved across all timelines and dimensions. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Taylor.
Hello, Amber.
How you doing?
Good.
Good.
I'm very excited.
I'm too.
Dixie, hello.
Hello, our beautiful guest.
Hello.
Please introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Dixie, and I am so happy to be on this podcast with you gals, you ghouls.
Thank you.
Yes.
I am kind of a self-proclaimed swamp witch. That's kind of my version of witchery and the path that I find myself traveling. It's kind of murky, it's kind of dank and dark, and I like the woods, and I like my solitude, and I like the moss, and
Love.
that's just what calls to me.
I love that. And I would love to hear more about how you came up with Swamp Witch and like what that really means to you. That really is intriguing and beautiful and juicy. Feels very mysterious. Love it. Tell us more.
Okay, I will. I've had quite an interesting spiritual path. And I feel like the Swamp Witch really came out when I ended up living on the Yurok Reservation on the Klamath River. And so my childhood was very rocky. My parents got into drugs and alcohol, and they really weren't on their parenting A game. And so, I was kind of like alone in the world until about 4 years old. And then my mom had another child. She had a boy. And then a year later, she had another boy. And so then I found myself with these two brothers, and I all of a sudden had these beings I could connect with because my parents really weren't there for me in that way. They had a lot going on, and they really weren't. They were keeping a roof over my head, but I felt pretty alone. And then when my little brothers came along, I just was like, it really changed my perspective. And I knew I wanted a better life. I knew that there was more out there for me connection wise. And now that I had these two little brothers and I could feel that love and connection, I was like, I just became really empowered to speak up for myself and for them. And
Wow.
and it really, having little brothers really changed my life and really helped me to speak out. I think before I was happy to be, not happy, but I was okay to be isolated and
Mm-hmm.
in my own world. But then when they came, it just kind of created this fire inside of me to want more, to want connection, to want a better childhood and life for myself and my brothers. Um, and so I kind of made things pretty difficult for my parents after that. Would
Mm-hmm.
speak out about the abuse and the neglect, and things just got really chaotic and dramatic between them. And
Mm.
my mom and my dad would take me to church when I was little, but it was really confusing because we would go to church and all the people would say these things, but then when we go home, our home like was nothing like that.
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
Ten Commandments or the rules or whatever certainly had no place in our home. And so I found it very confusing. And
Wow.
yeah, I
Common.
found it very confusing. And so through a series of a lot of dramatic events, it would take hours to go through them all. I was born in LA County. We ended up migrating up the north coast, up to the north coast of California. And so
Mm-hmm.
we stopped in a few domestic violence shelters. My mom took me and my brothers away. I made it very clear that I was not okay staying in that abusive situation. And it was really hard on my mom having to leave my dad. And I think she would have stayed if I
Mm-hmm.
hadn't been so vocal and so adamant about it not being okay. And
How
so I was
old
Okay.
were
kind of
you?
I was 7 when we first left.
Wow.
I have
And
chills and I'm
Yeah.
trying to not cry.
Yeah, constant chills flowing on my
Yeah.
back.
I
7. Oh my
7,
gosh.
yes, I was 7, and I had these
So
little baby
old.
brothers, and I was not okay with them taking taking. There was a lot of yelling, and there was a lot of physical violence, and I was not okay with any of that. And
Yeah.
so I spoke out, and that's what I did, and so
Mm.
my mom, didn't have a lot of options. We moved into a domestic violence shelter, and those situations aren't really the best place either. It's
Mm.
a great
What does
resource.
that look like?
The first one that I remember us going to was a big house, and it was in San Bernardino, and we were living in this old VW camper bus. And my mom told us, she said, "Get your coats and your shoes, we're leaving." And my brother Albert grabbed his lunchbox full of pennies. My brother Tori grabbed his shoes and his coats like he was supposed to. I grabbed my cat, and I was like, I'm
Oh.
not leaving this cat behind.
Oh,
So
baby.
so we had the cat in the camper van, and then when we got to the shelter, they were like, no animals here. And
No.
so I set up food and water in the camper van, and there was a little cracked window, and she like lived in the van, and she would go out and hunt and play, and she would always come back. She didn't leave
Mm.
me, which I mean, if you know cats, they
Yeah.
can
Mm-hmm.
do their own thing. So
Wow.
I think she was my first familiar, and
Protector. Yeah.
she really was. She was so there for me emotionally because I was confused, but I was
Mm-hmm.
also like so firm in my belief that like there was better and we could do better. I just like I had this righteousness inside of me of like we can do better and we will do better. So in this shelter, there was a few other women there with their children, and I remember the strangest thing was they would play. They had like 4 or 5 movies, and one of the ones that was on all the time was Mrs. Doubtfire. And I don't know if you remember that movie, but it's a Robin
Mm-hmm.
Williams movie about this guy that is kind of like he's a great fun-loving dad, but he's not fulfilling the responsible role as a parent.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
the wife is like, dude, you're out. Like, I'm tired of doing this all on my own. And he like loves his kids so much, not enough to change his behavior and be a good partner, but enough to be dress up in drag, right? And to try to be the nanny. So again, this is a really confusing movie for kids to
Oh
watch
my
who are in a domestic
goodness.
violence shelter, right? We're all there without
Wow.
our dads. And they would
Wow.
play this movie over and over and over. It was so strange. And I would
What were
go
they
with my cat.
thinking?
What were they thinking? That's what I
Yeah.
mean when I'm
What were they
saying,
thinking?
like, these shelters were not, like, it was a roof over our heads again, right? It was a
Wow.
roof over our heads. So I would take my cat and I'd go walk in the cemetery, and, we would just hang out because there was a cemetery right by the shelter. And so we just walk through the cemetery and I just look at the gravestones. And I remember it being quite a lovely cemetery. And my cat and I would just hang out. And eventually there was a little bit more custody drama with my mom and my dad, and we ended up moving farther up the coast. I think she thought more space would help. And we ended up in
Mm.
Humboldt County, and we were in a program there. I think it was called the Bridge House or something. And my mom met a Native American woman who was there for domestic violence issues as well. And she had four
Mhm.
children. And we all kind of lined up in age. And so they became good friends, and they really tried to support each other through that whole the whole life of having
Mhm.
children and being single mothers and trying to make it work in the city. And uh this part of the story is where it gets weird, and the segue is always hard for me. So I
Mhm.
just usually come out and say it. On my 13th birthday, um, I basically had had enough. I've had enough of this instability. I've had enough of the confusion, right? Everybody's saying
Mhm.
one thing. My mom, at this point, I remember she was still very spiritual in her mind, and she read the Bible, and she always professed that she had her own kind of pact with God.
Mhm.
But I'm watching strange men come in and out of this apartment. It's a one-bedroom apartment that we're all sharing, me and
Oh
my two brothers
God.
and my mom. And there's drugs going on. I remember at one point my mom was like trying to teach me how to roll joints, and I'm just like, I know this
No.
is not right. And not for anything having to do with God or the Bible. I just knew that it wasn't right. It wasn't a right
Mhm.
Mhm.
situation for me to be in.
Yes.
And so on my 13th birthday, I've had enough. Her and her friend, they're remodeling my dollhouse, okay, that I'd gotten in one of these shelters. They
Oh.
are turning it, they wallpapered the attic in like biker magazines. They put a pool table in there, and they were like, just, oh, you're gonna love this. And I'm just like, I don't love
No.
this. And
No.
so I rebel, and I'm like, I don't love this. I'm tired of taking care of my brothers for you. Well, I mean, not that I
Mhm.
was tired of taking care of my brothers, but I was tired of us all having to be on our own instead of having a parent
Mhm.
there.
Yeah.
And and on top of that, aside from me being technically the parent, having a co-parent in my mom who was so immature and so unreliable. So I just told her, I was like, I'm tired of being the good girl. I'm done. There's just this part of me. There's something in me, and I just want to do bad things. I just don't want to be
Mm.
helpful. I want to rebel. That's what
You
I
want to be
said
a
to my mom and
kid.
her friend. I want to be a kid. That's what I said to my
Yeah.
mom and my friend. And my mom heard this as, you're demon possessed. I just heard you say that
No.
there's something inside of you saying that it wants to make you do bad things. You are demon possessed. And so she starts like trying to give me an exorcism. Okay.
Holy
No.
shit.
Yes, this is my 13th birthday. And
Oh.
and so I'm just like, I'm not having it, right? I'm done. I'm pissed.
Yeah.
And so she called, so her and her friend grew up a Native American on the Yurok reservation. And she was like, oh, this is major spiritual warfare. We need the elders. We need to deal with this, right? Like we need prayer. We need prayer warriors. We need an exorcism. So they load all of us kids up in the car, and we go to her sister's house, and she starts praying for me. And, they have the Bible, and they're like, we rebuke you in the name of the Lord. Like, we rebuke the devil out of you, like, to me. and
Good.
and and at some point, my mom's friend, who had a son that was just about a year younger than me, he starts like, this is crazy. You guys need to get your stuff together. And
Yes.
so in their
Yeah.
mind, they're like, oh, now the demon has jumped to him.
No.
And so I'm not exactly
Holy
sure what drugs they
fuck.
were on,
This is
but
so absurd. I'm
I know.
so
So
sorry. Holy fuck.
it's okay. This moment changes my life, and it really was a
Yes.
pivotal moment. It was a really pivotal moment for me. So now that my friend is also demon possessed, they're like, oh, our drinking and our all this stuff has led the devil to our doorstep. They're attacking us through our children. We need to get our shit together. We need to get our life
Whoa.
straight. So they're like, we get in the car. This is like the evening now. It's like 8 or 9 o'clock at night. And they are like, we are going straight to the elders. We're going down to the elders down the river. We get in the car. There's 9 of us. It's a sedan. It's not legal. We
Wow.
drive
Yeah.
down to the Yurok reservation. Okay. Now, this is probably like, it's probably like a 3 hour drive. And it's along the Klamath River. Once you get out there, it's a 1 lane road for about 30 miles down the river
Mm.
to the reservation. There's no electricity down there. There's no stores down there. It's just like the end of the road, a couple churches and a school. Okay. We get there in the middle of the night. They bang on the elder's door, Eleanor. She lives right by the church. She lets us in. They tell her story. They tell her the story. We've been living our lives this way, and it has brought the devil to our doorstep, and now the devil is attacking us through our children. And
Wow.
and we never left. Okay. We wake up that morning. She feeds us what they call blackberry mush, and it's just oatmeal with blackberries in it,
Mm.
fresh picked off the vines. And they feed us blackberry mush, and we just never left. I think my mom went back a couple weeks later with someone to get some of our things, but I never even stepped foot back in that apartment where we were living in
Wow.
Eureka. And we became a part of this community down on the river. And my
Wow.
mom's friend was native and had spent time there and grew up there, but I'm not native. And so they
Mhm.
just took us in. I'm Hispanic. My mom is white. They just took her in and they were like, you poor lost woman, you need guidance.
Wow.
And yeah, and it was amazing because we learned how to forage, we learned how to fish, we learned how to make baskets, we learned how to interact with the wildlife. I mean, it's wild, wild, wild down there.
Mm.
And we did have running water. They set us up with a house, and that's when we got involved in the Indian Shaker Church. There was two churches down there on the river. There's the Indian Shaker Church, and then there was the Watek Pentecostal Church, and they're like right across the street. And so the Watek Pentecostal was established by the missionaries on the reservation, right? Because
Mhm.
that was a huge part of colonization. And I
Mhm.
learned about colonization there because talking
Wow.
to the elders and listening to their stories, many of them had been taken to the what do they call the schools? They were taken to. You guys remember what they're called? I'm like losing this
No.
word now.
That's
It's
okay.
like where yeah, it's where they take the Indian children away from their families to basically colonize them. And we heard a lot of stories about people who didn't make it back, and a lot of stories about the abuse that these children went through. And at the time, I was young, so I couldn't see it. But looking back, you can see how their culture has been. It's just been hidden. It's been like tamped down, and it's cost a lot of mental health and emotional health
Yeah,
Yeah.
for a lot of people
absolutely.
down there generationally, even with the young
Mhm.
children coming in now. Um, but with the churches, like there's the missionary church and then there's the Indian Shaker Church. And not a lot of people know about the Indian Shaker Church. Um, but it was established in 1910 and they have a very unique combination of religious ritual and kind of earth-based spirituality.
Mm.
And I actually became the first elder of the Indian Shaker Church down there.
Wow.
They accepted me in. They had a prophecy right before we came down the river. The elders had a prophecy, and they had a girl who was working in their church, and she had drowned in the river the year before I got there. And their
Oh.
prophecy was that another girl was coming to take her place. Um,
Oh, that just
and
gave me so
I
many chills.
Yes, I didn't know this, and I actually didn't learn about this until years later. But when we just, it was kind of natural. They just kind of naturally funneled us into the church. We were there with the elders, and they're like, "Oh, it's Sunday, we're going to church." And they use candles in their ritual. They always have 7 candles
Mm.
set up on their altar. They have what they call the light bearers, and there's usually 3 women who will carry a candle and they bring the light to the darkness. It's a
Mm.
very hands-on healing practice where they would
Yeah.
have healing ceremonies where they literally would put their hands on and pull darkness out. They would pull the sickness
Mm.
out and they would chant like their songs were so beautiful, and I think that was the thing that drew me the most to the Shaker Church because when they would all start singing, it creates that that tone,
The
that sounds like
resonance.
angels. Yeah, it creates a
Mhm.
resonance, and it's just like it's amazing sound healing is really what it
Mm.
is. And
Amazing.
and yeah, and I felt that healing because I had been through so much, I really
Yeah.
needed that sense of just that sensation of my nervous system, right? We know how
Yeah.
that sound can really affect our nervous system. And having
Mm.
been in fight or flight for so many years,
Your whole
it was
life.
yeah, it was so mind altering and life changing for me. I was like, oh, I feel at ease. I can feel my nervous system relaxing,
Wow.
and those were all signs to me. I was like, oh, this is where I'm meant to be. I'm meant to be in this church. I'm meant to do this work. And
Mm.
over the course of the next 3 years, they I essentially was a faith healer. They would drive me up and down the coast. All these Indian Shaker churches are on the reservations. And so they would
Mhm.
drive me through Northern California, Oregon, Washington, British Columbia, and I would go to these conventions and meetings and I would pray for people, and we would literally heal cancer. Like people would be
Wow.
healed of ailments that were bothering them. People would be healed from addictions just from
Mm.
the work that is involved in this Indian Shaker church.
I believe
And
it.
yeah, and we would ring bells. We brought these big bells, and you would take 2 of them and you would ring them. Like it was a lot of vibration in these services.
Mm.
And that's what I did, like until I was about 16. And then I started going to high school. And when I went into high school, things really changed because I had this shift from like being on the run my whole childhood and then finding this faith and feeling the healing aspects of it, right? Which were completely outside of like the logistics of the religion. But then now, as
Mhm.
I'm coming into an adult, all of a sudden there's all these rules that the elders are trying to get me to follow, right? Like
Mm.
you're not supposed to go to competitive sports games, and competition is not something, it's evil or it's wrong or whatever.
Of
And
the
of course,
ego.
there's yeah, there you go. And there's all these other things, right? And like your purity is important and all these things. And it just starts feeling like rules and rules and rules. And so I'm starting to get really curious. And I go and I visit the Pentecostal church because, I'm into faith and I'm into healing and spirituality. And I think all that's great. And And so I start going to Pentecostal church and I start checking out the tent revival. And then right at about this time, 16, is when I start getting kicked out of most churches that I go to because I start asking a lot of questions that they don't like us
Mhm.
asking. And
Yeah.
I'm devout, okay? I've seen faith in action. I've seen people in
Mhm.
action with their spirituality. I'm devout. And this is my spiritual life we're talking about on the line. So I want the details and I want to
Mhm.
make sure that it's lining up. So if you're telling me that and it doesn't
Mhm.
line up with what I'm reading and what I'm seeing, I'm going to ask questions and I'm not going to be swept under the rug. So I got kicked out of a few churches and also had some issues with the Shakers because I was just kind of like, like, no, I know myself. I know what's right. Like, and it's back to this childhood thing, right? With the abuse and neglect in the
Mhm.
household. Like, no, I just know. I know what's right. In my human design, I
Mhm.
have sacral authority. So I don't
Mhm.
have to be held over the gallows to do the right thing. I know what's right, and I'm not going to let myself do anything else. Like, I already know.
Mhm.
So I start getting kicked out of churches, and then I start to like lose my faith, really, is what happens.
Mhm.
And it's not that I lose my faith in spirituality or in like the collective, it's that I start losing faith in humanity. I start
Mm.
losing faith in institutions and
Yes.
organized institutions. And I start becoming like a lone wolf. And I just am kind of
Mhm.
like, I need to figure this out on my own because I
Mhm.
do know what's right. And I'm being faced with all these things that are not right. So I kind of step back from spirituality and I go to college and I'm like, okay, well, part of all the instability is not having a career and not having my foot in this colonized world. So let me go be
Mhm.
colonized for a little bit. I'm gonna go to college and get myself a degree, get a job, do what I gotta do. And so I start doing that, and I start working as a waitress, and I make lots of money in tips, and I think that's great, and I can put myself through school, and I do that. And then I start becoming a little bit more skeptical, after being kicked out of so many churches and being faced with so many people that are supposed to be there for me, like my parents, and they're just really not. And so I'm just kind of like just pushing through. I tell myself I'm going to go to school for hospitality and restaurant management, and that's what I'm going to do. And so I do that. And then I intern for my program and I start working at the top resorts with the top people, and nobody's happy. All the
Yeah.
managers, all the bosses, they're stressed out, right? They're colonized
Mhm.
completely. They're no hair. They've got cancers. Like, and I just
Mhm.
like have this realization. I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to do this. Like, I
No.
don't want to spend my life doing this. And
Mhm.
so I meet a girl waitressing, and she's from Mount Shasta.
Mm.
And she's like, I'm going to go back to Mount Shasta to visit my parents for the holidays. I don't want to drive by myself. Will you come with me? We convinced our boss to give us the weekend off. And so we went
And
to Mount
together.
Shasta.
Amazing.
I know, Auntie, we did a lot of sweet talking,
In the restaurant world.
right? Yeah, we
Amazing.
did a lot of sweet talking. And so I went and visited Mount Shasta with her. And when we got there, I was just like, this place is so beautiful and everyone here is so nice and it just has this like quality about it. Why did you
Mm.
ever leave? And she's like, well,
Yeah.
I had to get out of my hometown. She goes, but I do miss it. And I was like, you should move back. I was like, we should move here. And the next month we did.
Oh
We
my
moved
God. I love that
we moved to
spontaneity.
Dunsmuir. Yeah, we moved to Dunsmuir. Because when we were there, we just walked into like a real estate office and we are like, do you have anything? This is our situation. And they looked at us like we were crazy. And then they were like, yeah, actually, we have somebody who might have a place for you. And it worked out. We called our
Wow.
boyfriends, and our boyfriends were like, sure, yeah, sounds great. And so we moved our boyfriends and our dogs and everything, and we made it over. And that's when I really started finding time and space to find my own spiritual path of what that meant instead of walking into a church and finding all of these rules and things that didn't really work for me or anyone or maybe just a few people. I started
Mhm.
actually building my own practice. What feels good for me spiritually, right? And that's kind of where the swamp witch started to come out, because I
Yes.
remember like living on the river, a lot of my power, a lot of my safety, a lot of my spirituality just came from being by the water, sitting in the
Mhm.
moss, like learning from the plants. They literally would talk to me. I always have
Mhm.
known which plants are medicinal, and so in Mount Shasta, that just really came out. And I was like free. I had a couple of mountains between me and my family. That always helps.
Mhm.
And then
Mhm.
just being in Mount Shasta, where the people that are drawn there, they're really accepting, they're really open, they really want to learn more about you.
Mhm.
And my friend was into tarot cards, and I had grown up believing that tarot cards were like satanic and
Yeah.
that it was like evil and divination to read tarot cards, which is crazy.
Mhm.
Um, and so that's when I started looking into palm reading. And I met a palm reader in Mount Shasta. And, I always thought palm reading was one thing. And then she explained to me the way that she did palm reading and kind of the overview of everything. And then when I started actually looking at people's hands, I could see all of these stories coming out. And I thought, I was like, well, who am I? What do I know? I don't know. But I just started practicing and I just started telling people the stories that I saw in their palms. And people were like, they gave me such good feedback. They were like, wow, that's so insightful. I never saw it that way. Like, I knew I had this quality, but I never saw that it could be
Mhm.
a positive trait, or I never saw how I could overcome this weakness with this over here. And I just kept doing it and learning more and more and talking to people. And it just became something that was a part of me, and as a part of my spirituality too. Like I use it in my own hands. I use it for
Mhm.
challenges that I'm going through. I use it for my friends, like if there's something going on, it's like, let's look at your hands. Let's look at the story. Where are we at right now? And yeah, Mount Shasta really changed my life, and I was so thankful that I took up that call, like let's move and
Mhm.
like let's just do it. And it really changed my life. And that was really when I think the inner witch of me started to really wake up. There was this
Love.
spiritual part of me in my childhood, but it was very like pure. It was very like maiden, like Diana kind of priestessy energy. And then
Mhm.
when I got to Mount Shasta and I heard about the Lemurians and I met people with all these different ideas and living their lives in completely different ways, that was when I was like, oh, all of these little parts of me, they are someone. This is my inner
Mhm.
witch, and she's like trying to come out. She wants to play with the herbs. She wants to be in her new moon, dark, dark energy where she just goes in her cave and
Mhm.
creates her weird little creations. Like that's what she wants to do.
Mhm.
And that's really, that's kind of where I learned to like let the skeptic go, let the priestess go, and really just put my feet on the ground. I mean, that's a whole nother thing in
Mhm.
it of itself. You put shoes on us and we lose this connection. And then all of a sudden it's been 10 years and you're like, have my bare feet even been on the ground?
Mhm.
So I think that's really where my grounding, that's where my grounding happened, was there. And I did a lot of healing work around my first exorcism at 13, which I had never even addressed. I had never even addressed
Yeah.
that. And no one had addressed that with me. Like no one had
Just like
ever come and been
like it
like,
never
oh,
happened.
yeah, that was probably traumatic, watching
Yeah.
your mom rebuke the devil in your face, like, and
Yeah.
so I just did that for myself. And that's kind of where my inner witch has been recently, is been
Mm.
working on that inner child, really. I had a baby 3 years ago, and so
Oh.
that has such a huge effect on your inner child. Like it's brought up
Mhm.
so much stuff that was never addressed, right? And now I get to address it. I get to be that
Mhm.
mom I get to be that mom for my child and for my inner child. And
Yes.
yeah, that's my witch's work right there. Is just
Oh,
kind of like reconnecting to the earth, my inner child, and finding my own path and really diving deep into that sacral authority and knowing I know what's right.
it's so amazing.
Amazing.
Like, probably one of my favorite stories I've ever heard. So powerful. So so grateful. Thank you so much for being so open and vulnerable and sharing all of that with us too. I think it's really interesting and magical that Mount Shasta called you, because that is known to be the root chakra of the world, and you never had a sense of security and like safety in yourself or
Mm-hmm.
in the world. And so, to be magnetized to that place that's like, let me hold you, baby. I got you now. You're safe here. And to feel that and be like, this is where I need to be right now for a while. I think that's so beautiful, so magical. And to be
Yeah.
connecting to with that inner child work, that's been coming up so much for me, like literally in the past few days. I've been like
Mm-hmm.
really meditating on my inner child and doing these things, like even today, like wearing what is it called, the midrifty showy
Crop top.
crop tops.
Crop top.
So I was thinking today, because I like to shop in the juniors every now and then still sometimes, and like
Yeah,
all the 90s cute stuff is back in style right now, and
I
it makes
know.
me so happy. So I'll like get something sometimes because it reminds me of being a kid in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And like wearing these, I feel so safe and comfortable in them, which is really odd because I've always been very protective of like my belly area region. And just today I was thinking, why do I actually feel that way? Oh, because I was told when I was a kid that I wasn't allowed to wear stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And, that got stuck in me to think like, well, why can't I? Why am I not allowed to wear that? So now I'm 38 almost, and like, I'm going to show off my midriff. I don't care. My belly is cute no matter
It
what
is
size she
cute.
is.
Yeah, it
And
looks
like,
good. You
I'm
look
going
hot.
to thank you.
You do. You look
I'm
great.
just going to heal that inner child a little bit and let her wear the crop top now, because
Mm-hmm.
she didn't get to, and she was sexualized at a very young age and shouldn't have been.
Hmm.
And so now I'm going to do that. Just, I mean, all these
Oh
different
yeah.
things, but that was one thing that was coming up for me today. And so to hear you too, like talking about healing that inner child and addressing the trauma. I mean, so many traumas, so many different things, to be able to like start to kind of connect with that, and to be able to do that through motherhood, to
Mm-hmm.
help healing yourself. And even though baby's earth side, doing that work on yourself will ripple to make sure she or he is healed with that energy as well. It's so powerful. I feel so blessed that you're here with us today.
Me too. What does parenting look like coming from that different place for you, making sure that you're doing things way different than you were raised? Like I had it phrased better in my head, and then you were talking and I lost it. But you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely a lot of trial and error. Had a great example of what not to do, but
Right.
Mhm.
knowing what to do is a challenge. Toddlers definitely keep you on your toes. It's definitely
Mhm.
a lot easier when they're just nursing and sleeping. But now she's 3 and she's very fiery. She's very defiant and and I love that about her. I
Mhm.
don't want to squash those things. So it's a balance
Mhm.
between not creating a spoiled situation,
Mhm.
but really empowering self accountability. So
Mm.
Absolutely.
knowing that she has her responsibilities too. And so that's what that looks like for me. And a lot of saying I'm sorry and calling out
Mhm.
when I do something I don't like the way that I did it.
Yes.
If I handle
Mhm.
something poorly that I don't like how I handled it, And I just come out and I say to her, look, I I did not do that right. I should have done this. And I'm sorry. Mama's working on that. So it's a lot of learning, and I have a great therapist who's helping me with command language and how to be a gentle parent, because that's one of the number one things for me is I was raised very violently. There was a lot of abuse in my house. Like it was totally like smack in the face. That would happen. That's not okay with me. That's not happening in our dynamics. So discipline is really tricky, right?
Yeah.
And so my issue is I resort to bribery, which is not always the best option, but it
It's
gets
the
me where it
easiest.
needs to be
Yeah.
because discipline is hard and I'm not interested. I don't want my child to fear me, and that's why she does something. I
Yeah.
don't want her to feel like she's gonna not be provided for or taken care of if she doesn't do the right thing, because that's not the message I'm trying to send either. However, she does need to understand that I'm the mom, I am in charge, and that I'm telling her to do things so that she will stay safe. Because these little humans, they really, you have to keep them alive.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they can be dangerous. They don't want to hold your hand. They want to run out into the road, or they're a little kookalooey. And so you really, you got to make sure that have that command language is what I'm working on. And like, just like, it's time to do this. Like, I want you to do this. And finding that balance between making sure she understands what is expected and what has to be done, and also knowing that her mom loves her and I'm here to take care of her, and that mistakes are okay and that we all make them. And and just that kind of stuff. So yeah, it definitely, and that's where the reparenting comes in, because when I
Totally.
make that mistake, I can see, oh, that's what I experienced. And that felt so bad when I experienced that.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. So then I pivot, and then I get to go back to my actual child and I get to say, hey, listen, okay, I did not handle that right. I should not have yelled. Um, I'm working on that. And then I get to go tell my inner child, hey, you know what? I know you were yelled at all the time, and that actually did not help. And that was actually not the right way. So let's, work on this together. And I get to comfort her and then do better the next time. And then I know when that trigger is coming from my toddler. Because that's the part, is like, no matter how good you want to do as a parent, there's always these little things that come up, and they come out of the blue. And of course, it's never the opportune moment, right? It's like I'm already carrying 3 bags and it's the end of the day, and she's screaming because all she wants is this one thing. And you're just like, my nervous system is shot. And it's just like, no, like, you can't do that. It's unsafe or whatever. And you have those moments where you're just like, okay, you're just going to timeout. I'm just, we're having space or whatever it is. And it doesn't always go the right way that you want it to go. But for me, it's acknowledging that, because for me growing up, it was a lot of, because I said so, you do what I say, stop crying. The crying is the biggest one, and that's, you gotta pick your battles, right? So
Yeah.
for me, crying was a no-go. Like,
Yeah. Same.
do not cry or I will give you something to cry about.
Yeah.
Like,
That never worked on me. They tried, but couldn't stop crying
No.
ever.
It shut me down, and I'm still having troubles with that.
I still have troubles with that as an adult, to the point
Yeah.
of where even grieving, if I've
Yep.
lost some
Exactly.
people, and it's so hard for me to
Yep.
cry. Like, I can't
Yeah.
do it. And so, like, with my little ones, I want this, I want this. Well, nope, you can't have that. We have dessert after dinner, I want it, I want it. Nope, you can't have it. And she starts crying, right? And so what is the message? Don't cry or I'll give you something to cry about. Well, I'm not gonna say that to my kid, because
Yeah.
that's fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not cool. And so what I'm going to just say is, I hear you're sad. I hear you've got big feelings. I'm here for it. Maybe we can distract ourselves with something else, right? So that's one of, you got to pick your battles and pick the ones that are like really important, and have grace with yourself. That's the other part, is just to have grace with yourself and know that you're doing your best, and that you can acknowledge when your best comes short. And that's what we do.
I love that.
I cannot wait to see how this next generation of children turn out, just being raised like mindfully and
Therapized parents.
yeah, like it's all of my friends and people like our age, most of their kids are little still, so we don't know how it's working. So it's like I'm so excited to see what that looks like.
Yeah.
And when they're like teenagers and adults and just how the world will change, really. Okay, next topic. I want to scoot back to, as someone that lived in Shasta for a while, what are the Lumerians?
Oh, the Lemurians. Yeah. I'm not exactly sure. I did meet a few people who said they were Lemurians, but they look just like people, so it's hard to tell. But apparently they're like this ancient civilization that live inside of the mountains. And when you see those big like spaceship clouds above Mount Shasta, apparently those are like blurred out spaceships. And they're like, and people are like coming and going. And they also have a community in Mount Shasta called the I Amers. I don't know if you guys have heard that, but
No.
they're like I am love, I am light, and they have like this big angel conference that they do, which I never made it to. The tickets are like really expensive, but they have this amphitheater there in Mount Shasta that's like pretty private. They have like one event a year, and they have this big angel convention and pageant, and people fly from all over the world who are in this I am religion, and they have an I am reading room there. And when I was in Mount Shasta, I was really like looking for my own thing. So I didn't delve too deeply into that because I was like, after my experience with the Shakers and then the Pentecostals and the Baptists and all that, I was like, oh, okay. So it's just like another group. Cool. And they
There's
have like
so
special
much about Shasta, like so many odd, interesting, different
It's a lot.
things. We should do an
It's a
episode
lot.
maybe just on Shasta.
I just wrote it
That would
down.
be great.
There's so
Yeah,
much.
that would be really good.
Between
They should
aliens and
too.
Bigfoot.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
Bigfoot.
Yes. Yes, all of it. Yes, I think that would be great.
Amazing. Okay, so we met you because you were reading palms at Witchy Night. I tried to be the first one and some girl got in front of me and then other people tried to stand in line. I said, no, I'm getting in there. This is I need this done. And I am so intrigued. And it was fascinating. I was so impressed. You are so incredibly smart and gentle and just like really, I don't know how to explain it. It was just like really mindfully and carefully done. And I felt like it was spot on. I hope it was because I like the things you told me. But I loved it and I felt really drawn to you and I was really excited about it. And I'm so glad that we are connecting here because you're an amazing storyteller and your life has been fascinating and palm reading is super cool. So what is palm reading?
Palm reading is, it's not technically a science, but there is a little bit of a science to it in that there's definitely a map and a diagram of the palm, and there's different characteristics and strengths that lie in certain areas. And just the way that the lines lay out mean different things, whether they're parallel, whether they're horizontal or vertical, how many lines there are, the shapes that they make. Do they make X's? Do they make stars? Do they make V's? Like all of these different shapes and symbols just have different meanings. And depending on where they lie in the hand, it relates to different areas. It's done through archetypes. The Roman god archetypes through your palm are the major mounts, and so each archetype kind of signifies a certain area. Like Apollo is your emotional center, and then Venus, of course. We all know what Venus represents. She's the goddess of love and passion, and she's the mother. And Diana, goddess of the moon. So Palm reading is a combination of being able to see the symbology of the lines that's in the hand, know the archetypes, and also being able to just intuitively connect with whoever's on the other side of you, really.
So
And
cool.
it's so cool. And I feel like it's a really beautiful, intuitive art that just grows over time. Like the more that I learn in my life, the more I'm able to give to the symbols that I'm reading, right? So when I see the different patterns and the different locations, my knowledge of how to interact with that archetype or how to influence that archetype has vastly improved, versus 10 years ago when I didn't have as much experience and I didn't have as much healing tools under my belt,
Mm-hmm.
and I hadn't been so far down my my healing path and my spiritual path. So that's just what it is. It's a combination of those things, and I love the hands. I'm a handwork person. Like I bead and
Mm-hmm.
I basket weave and I forage and I, tiniest little intricate things. And so we all use our hands all day long to do
Mm-hmm.
what we're doing. And they tell a story. And
Amazing.
and what I like about the story, because I am a storyteller, is I love unlocking those parts of the story that just give clarity and that encourage people. I'm a hype queen. Like I am all about hyping up the big, beautiful parts of yourself that are going to take you to the next level.
Yep.
That's what I love.
Yes, us too, for sure.
Hell yeah. Why would someone want to do a palm reading? What are they going to get out of that?
People usually want different things. Some people like really if they don't understand palm reading, they want to get an answer.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't feel like those people are disappointed when they don't find out when they're going to get married or how many children they're going to get. But I do think that that's what they're looking for sometimes when they go for a palm reading. It's like, oh, how long is my life going to be?
Fortune telling.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very fortune tellery.
It is fortune tellery, but I
Vibe.
think
Yeah.
I think why people would want a palm reading is because they're looking for a little guidance. Maybe they feel a little stuck. Maybe they feel a little blocked. Maybe they just need someone to show them what they already know. Because the truth is that everything that I tell people in a palm reading is stuff that they already know.
Yeah.
It might be buried very deep in their
Mm-hmm.
subconscious. It might also be something that they don't want to acknowledge. But
Mm-hmm.
when I give a palm reading, my goal is to highlight your strengths, highlight your opportunities, and to show how those can overcome challenges that you might have. Because the palm also does show challenges. It shows areas where maybe you're blocked, maybe you're cursed. It's a term we can use, but a curse is really just an energy block, however it got there. And so someone would want a palm reading if they want to connect. They really want to go in and they want to bring those things out. If they are looking for a strategy, if they're looking for a different perspective shift, I think that's a huge one. People who feel like they're stuck in a decision or they feel like they're stuck in a situation, palm reading can give great clarity and perspective. And just that little extra push people need to make the choice that really they already know.
Yeah.
Do you use a specific palm? Is it like right hand or left hand?
So right hand and left hand they're kind of different things, and for the most part in palm reading you would say dominant and non-dominant hand.
Okay.
And the non-dominant hand is kind of how you came into the world, and then the dominant hand is how you present. So it's the archetype that you have created of yourself versus how you actually came in unfettered.
Do your palm lines change?
They totally change. They change over time. And so that's why palm reading is so it's like in the moment, right? So it's not like your astrological chart, which you were always born at that same time, right? But your palm tells the story as it's evolving, and so it can totally change. And that's
Cool.
why I don't really see it as like a divination fortune telling. Because I mean, it can tell your fortune in it will talk about how you will react and behave in certain situations.
Mm-hmm.
But that will always change because something that you would have
Yeah.
reacted to 10 years ago versus the way you'll react to it now is going to be different, hopefully.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because when I did it, I was like, okay, is that just like a one and done kind of thing? You know, I got my palm read. It's my palm. It's not going to be any different. But I like that.
Yeah.
It's like over time, you'll get different answers.
Are
Yeah,
virtual palm readings possible? Is that something that you have
they
done?
are possible. They are something that I have done. Um, I do kind of like a specific online palm
Mm-hmm.
reading. It's just not as, there's not as much energy and it's a little
Totally.
harder if I
Totally.
can't see the hands really clearly, so I have to get
Mm-hmm.
some pictures. So
Well,
I
that's
like
good
to
to
do the palm
know.
reading, yeah, over Zoom,
If
but
we
I always
have,
like to get
yeah,
pictures.
if we have like listeners out there who aren't local to Southern Oregon area, that's nice that they could reach out and connect with you and potentially get some of your magic too. That would be cool.
Yeah, when you did mine, it was so specific to like how deep the ridges were
Mm-hmm.
and like how the valley and like the middle of my palm was. And so I feel like some of that is maybe more difficult to recognize over a photo or like FaceTime or something
Yeah.
like that.
There's also texture, which is really important to feel like the
Mm-hmm.
firmness and the strength. And like a lot of it you can't even see. Sometimes you really have to get in there and feel. So,
Mm-hmm.
um,
I
yeah.
loved the like while you're like petting my hand while you're doing it. It was just like so soothing and like just lovely. I don't know. I was
Oh,
like,
thank
ah,
you.
you're welcome.
Thank you.
Do you have like a personal favorite line on the hand that you're like, this is something I always love to look at people's hands and see
Mm-hmm.
about?
I do. I really like Diana. That's the part of your palm that is under your pinky, and it's kind of this moon shape. So Diana is the goddess of the moon, and this represents her bow. And so I always like to look at this in hands because there's many different shapes, um, and the shape of the bow is really important. So if you have a long, straight bow, you can shoot an arrow really far. But if you've got a shorter curved bow, you can't shoot the arrow as far, but you get more accuracy. And so
Hmm.
this is like a tool that people have in their hand that can teach them about their intuition by focusing on short-term or long-range goals. And depending on the shape of this bow in your hand, it really gives some insight on how you can access that because it's just a powerful tool for us all to have and to
Cool.
be encouraged in, right? Is our intuition and our instinct, which are two different things, but they do go hand in hand. And so having them communicate together really is that, it's that secret sauce for a witch, right? Is our intuition
Mm-hmm.
and our instinct. That's what we live by. And so I always
Mm-hmm.
like to kind of wake up the witch in everyone just by
Yes.
showing them that in their palm. And be like, you have these abilities in here. You have to get the right
Yes.
perspective and listen.
Yes. Oh, I love that
Amazing.
so much. That's like a big part of my job is letting everyone know like what I'm doing right now, you can also do.
Mm-hmm.
Like we are all born with these intuitive gifts and they all look a little different, but we have all of them and you just have to connect with your body and your soul and find how you're receiving messages. And so I just think it's really empowering to be able to provide that for your clients to help them see like, oh, I am intuitive too.
Mm-hmm.
What can I do? What's my magic
Yeah.
power? That's
I
Yeah.
so
wish
great.
you were here to do like in-person palm readings for
I
us
know.
on
I
the show.
can't wait to get mine. I was so jealous of Taylor sneaking in there and being bold and like, I'm gonna do this before I start reading. Like, oh,
I
you're
know.
really smart.
I want it again.
So next
Well,
time
I
I'll
am
be the bold
down.
one.
Yeah, and I definitely need a haircut from Taylor, so let's meet
Hell
up
Oh
yeah.
then.
yes,
Okay.
she's the
I'm super
best.
down.
I have another question.
Oh, yeah.
So I just have this thought in my mind. I don't know if it would be possible, but like using the techniques and thought process of reading palms, is there a way to do like a collective reading or have you ever done anything like that intuitively? Like I don't know if you would envision a map and try to find lines, or I don't know if it's even something that is possible.
I
Like
love
connecting people to
maps.
each other?
Yeah.
Hmm?
Like
Oh, I don't
connecting
know.
people to each other?
Well, no, I mean just like in general, like
Oh.
the collective energy. If you were to do a reading with like palm reading techniques and thought processes in mind, I don't know. Just
I
putting
think
that out
that's a
there. Maybe
really,
it's
yeah,
something you
that's
could
really
create too.
interesting. Yeah, that's really interesting. And you know what? I will say that I do read lines
Mhm.
on the earth. Like
Mhm, yeah.
I read the clouds and I read like stones and rivers.
Mhm.
And like, and I read moss lines, and so I do read like nature lines. Like I'm a naturalist.
Love.
I'm the
Love.
happiest in the woods. I just,
Yes.
I love me some water and some trees and some rocks. Is what
Mhm.
I'm about. And so I do read the lines and the symbols, and I don't know if it's like a collective reading, but I think it informs my palm reading, Like it's just kind of
Yeah.
like these little mini lessons from Gaia that kind of go
Mhm.
into the palm readings.
I love that.
Amazing.
I just
And
think
I'm
it would
gonna
be
try
so
it with
neat to
maps
kind of
now
like,
that you said that.
yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm just thinking of like if we could palm read the energy of today, what would that look
Yeah, that's
like?
cool.
How would you do
Yeah,
that? And could
yeah.
you do that? I just
Mhm.
think that would be
Mm.
so beautiful.
Do you have any more questions?
No, that I think was my last pressing one.
Is there anything else that you would like to share with us today before we jump into the card read? And do you have a deck that you would like to pull from?
Oh, let's see, I do have some nice decks. Yeah, I could pull a deck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I got a lot out there today. It feels really good to talk about it. So thank you,
Feels
ladies,
really
so much
good.
for
I
having me
feel
on.
like
Yeah.
I just want to talk to you for so long. I'm
Mhm.
so grateful.
Easy to talk to,
Yeah.
great storyteller. I feel like I have to jump in a lot of times so much with like some guests, and this
Yeah,
was
you
just
didn't
so
say anything.
flowy.
I was
No.
like, Taylor's so quiet today. Is she okay? No, like the storytelling is just so perfect and
Detailed in the right way, no
the flow.
tangents.
The
It was
flow.
good.
Yeah, so good.
Thank you. That was also something I learned on the
Thank you.
reservation. They love their stories.
Amazing.
Love it.
Okay, how about you pull a card or two for us?
And grab my
However you're
deck.
feeling. However many you want. We'll just go with your heart.
Okay, I have this Earth Warriors Oracle deck.
Oh, that deck is
Amazing.
so
You guys can
good.
pull
Sammy
that one.
pulled from
Okay.
that deck when we had her
Oh,
on.
perfect.
I love this deck. It's so pretty.
What's your daughter's name?
Indira Rose.
Oh, beautiful.
Cute. Love.
She's amazing.
I'm pregnant, and it's just really nice to talk to moms.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
We
I'm so
went-
excited for you.
Thank you. We went to Shaky Graves last night, and there were
I
like lots of
almost made it
babies.
there.
It
Oh,
was good, but I
oh.
kept crying every time I saw a parent with their child, and then
Aw.
Kurt started crying, and we're both like,
Aw.
"Okay, this is just
Aw,
It's
lot.
the
I'm so
hormones.
happy.
It's the hormones."
It's the hormones. Okay. Estemetlehi. Turquoise changing woman. Oh, I don't think I've pulled this card before.
I think I
It's
need
so
this
interesting. I grew up on the Yurok reservation, but I've been on this path to actually learn my heritage, which is Yaqui Native.
Beautiful.
I did an ayahuasca journey last year, and all my ancestors like came to me and they were like, "Oh man, we've been here all along. We've been waiting for you."
Yeah.
And so I was like, "Oh my goodness, I need to check in with them."
That's beautiful.
Amazing.
When you were talking about like being a child, being 4 years old and just being so called, to speak up and like find your voice, I could just feel like your ancestors were literally using you to change the lineage.
Yes.
Like so powerful. So that's beautiful that
Chills.
they have
Yes.
come through for you through that journey.
They really have, and I am so thankful. And so that journey, the ayahuasca journey, really opened that up for me. It was like all 7 of your grandmothers are here. They've just been like lining up all of these things for you, you know, calling me to Mount Shasta and all of these things.
Oh, totally.
Quite
100%.
amazing. Okay, shall I read this?
Please.
Yes.
Okay, Estanat Lehi, turquoise changing woman. I am the turquoise moon mother, and I come to you now with a message of change. This may be a change that you want or a change that you fear, but either way, I will show you how to use this change to become stronger, wiser, and more empowered to fulfill your divine destiny. Do not fear the changes around you and within you. Trust in the timing of what is happening in your world.
Wow, that is so spot
I'm
on.
gonna cry,
Yeah, I'm
too.
like
It is
crying.
so spot on.
So spot on for your
Mm.
life. Like everything has led you to this point, the pain and all of it, and it's brought you to this very place where you can reflect and be like, okay, I needed all of that to happen, as
Yeah.
fucked up as it was,
Mm-hmm.
and that you get to continue to grow and heal through that change.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Ooh,
I resonate with that,
so much.
obviously. Thank you so much.
How does
Yeah.
that feel for you, Dixie?
It's like so spot on. It really is.
Mhm.
I'm a single mom. I'm on a single momming journey
Mm.
right now, and there have been some
Mhm.
really painful moments. And one of the biggest messages that has come across to me on my healing journey right now is that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be.
Yep.
Not just
Yes.
in the beautiful moments when everything is working out,
Yeah.
but also in the chaos when it's disaster and drama.
Mm-hmm.
And I am like
Mhm.
standing strong in my knowing of like what is right. I'm exactly where I'm
Yep.
supposed to be. And so I am really thankful for this change because change has been happening in my world and it has felt really hard. But um but at the same time it feels like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be.
Yep.
And so
Mhm.
yeah, this is a very good card for me.
I always
Change.
think, like, you know, in reference to the tarot, the star always comes after the tower.
Mm-hmm.
Like the destruction and the chaos and the fear, like when you surrender to it and just let it burn down, you get your star moment and everything
Yeah.
always works out. Like the damage and the shit needs to happen for your evolution, for your soul.
Always.
Whew.
Yep.
That was wonderful.
Amazing. So we have two questions that we like to ask every guest at the end. And I'll let Amber ask you the first one.
So our first question is, what is something that you do for self-care that you just can't live without?
Self-care that I just can't live without. I'm a soaker. I love to soak my
Ooh.
bod. So
Mm-hmm.
I live just like 5 minutes from the Jackson Well Springs, and I
Nice.
try to get there at least once a week.
Amazing.
And then and then Chozu every couple months if I can swing it.
Oh yes.
We'll have to meet you there sometime.
Yeah.
I haven't been.
Yes.
I still haven't been
It's so
either.
nice.
They do like women's nights and stuff. We
Mhm.
should go sometime.
At the
Okay.
Well
That would
Springs
be
Monday nights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
should
Yes.
text Taylor when you're gonna go and
We'll
Okay.
meet you.
we'll be spontaneous
Okay.
and come meet you. That would be
Oh,
magical.
I would love that. That would be magical.
So if you could tell your younger self, whether that be little Dixie or Dixie as far as yesterday, one thing, what would it be?
I guess if I could tell myself one thing, even my younger self, I would say, um, to believe in myself. Like there is no need for any doubt. Just believe in who you are and just
Mhm.
toss doubt out the window. And if any doubts ever try to come in, or if anybody tries to bring doubt to your door, send them packing.
Yep.
Yes. Bye, bitch.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I love that. That's
So
so
good.
important,
Yeah.
especially when I'm sure so much doubt has been put in your mind by others, you know,
Mhm.
trying to shush your intuition and shush you out. Fuck yeah.
Mhm.
I love that.
Amazing. So
Is there
grateful.
anything that you would like to plug or anywhere where listeners can find you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I actually just put together a little landing page for my palm reading.
Yay.
I'm a graphic designer and a web developer, and I help folks. I help mostly like healers and coaches and people with heart-centered businesses get their branding message out. And I actually use palm reading
Awesome.
in my marketing work, like whenever people are struggling with like branding or they're struggling with marketing campaigns, I bring it back to palm reading and go through the
Sweet.
strengths.
So
I
fun.
design, yeah, it's so fun. I love it. I design logos and I love doing beautiful logos for people doing beautiful work. That's what I really love to do.
Cool.
And so I just put a page together. It's howdixieseesit.com. It used to be my old blog when I first started blogging, like
Yes.
a million years ago. It was How Dixie Sees It. That was my blog. But I had the domain and I was like, oh, that's actually a really good palm reading name, How
Yeah.
Dixie Sees
Yeah.
It. So I
Oh,
put together a
chills.
page where people can get in touch with me if they are interested in palm reading. And then dixiedev.com is my marketing platform. And that's where I work with people who have heart centered businesses and they're looking for a little help with their online marketing. So that's
Yeah,
my
that's
offerings in the online world these days.
super interested in that.
Yeah, same. That's beautiful. And do
Cool.
you do social media or anything like that for yourself?
I have been doing social media. I've been taking a little break. Some things in my
Yeah.
personal life have been rocky this
Yeah.
year, so I'm just minimally on there, but you can find me on Facebook or Instagram, How Dixie Sees It. And I'm on
Okay.
TikTok, but I don't know if anybody really wants to see those videos.
I made mine private. I said they'll just not show these to the world.
I have like 2 old ass videos on there because I just don't understand it. I think I'm too
We'll
old.
work on it.
No,
You're
TikTok's
not.
You're not.
Yeah. There's that
I'm a
old
little
lady
unsure.
that yeah,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah. There's everybody on TikTok. You're right.
That's true.
She was like, "Come with me to visit my gravestone."
That's crone life.
Oh,
Amazing.
that's so funny. I love it.
Okay, this has been so good.
Yeah, so freaking beautiful. So grateful. Um do some work with your inner child.
Take a
Yes.
soak.
Take a soak. Yeah.
Yes,
Mhm.
so
And
magical.
you know what? Mud baths are great too.
Oh,
Okay.
mud baths are so good. Yes. Drink some vegetable juice.
Try to see some live music this summer.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really good. Put your feet on the earth.
Yes.
That was what I was
Yep.
thinking too. Go put your feet on the earth. Go get
Go
grounded.
do it.
Magic.
Thank you. We
Thank you,
love
Dixie. It was so
you.
grateful.
Yes. Thank you guys so much.
Bye.
Thanks for having me on your show. I love your guys'
Oh,
work and I love the stories that you're bringing out into the world. It's amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for being another story and sharing with us. And
So important.
yeah, so important. So thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Find us on TikTok and Instagram at Waking Up the Witch.
Please email us your witchy stories, ghost stories, corrections, and advice questions to wakingupthewitch@gmail.com.
Love you.
Love you.